St. Joseph, Missouri, known as the biggest small town in the country. Although our population's over 70,000, it's never hard to find a familiar face in any crowd, whether it's parties on the Parkway or seeing a show at the Missouri Theater. We support our local businesses, cheer on our high school teams, and help out our neighbors, except those without a roof over their heads. While there are several organizations that do support those facing chronic homelessness, there's an unspoken but agreed standpoint among the residents that homeless people have put themselves in this position and are unworthy of support and assistance. This is where Community Missions of St. Joseph disagrees.
Homelessness is not going away. There's been homelessness for forever, biblical times, forever. Poor people, people in poverty, people, vulnerable people. We have to do something different.
If you're not in it and you're not working it and you're not down here helping or volunteering or striking up a conversation, you don't know about them. They're great people.
It is so misconstrued, like, oh, homeless, they chose to be that way. I'm not saying that there aren't some that continue to choose that lifestyle, but it's hard when you have people that have grown, like that's all they've known, that's how they grew up.
The streets of St. Joseph are home to roughly 400 individuals, including men, women, and children. Mental illness, abuse, trauma, substance dependence, or even just not being able to afford rent can all be contributing factors to the homeless epidemic that St. Joseph is facing. Chronically homeless individuals live day to day in survival mode. According to the National Coalition for the Homeless, since 1999, there have been nearly 2,000 reported acts of violence against homeless individuals and over 375 deaths. But that doesn't even include the unreported incidents.
Once the sun goes down, streetlights coming on doesn't mean anything down here. And it's sad. And it's not most people think, oh, women are abused and raped, and it's not just women. We have a lot of fragile men that come through the door too.
But the nonprofit organization Community Missions and its campus of resources has worked tirelessly for 20 years to protect and uplift those who most need our help.
Our main goal when people come in is to get them to self-sufficiency, break down the barriers that they have that led them to homelessness, keeps them in homelessness, to be successful outside eventually of supportive services.
Rachel Bittaker has worked for nonprofit organizations for 15 years and has held the executive director position at Community Missions for the last 3. She and her team have worked at building relationships with St. Joseph's homeless residents in hopes of connecting them with the resources they need to get their lives back on track. The first step in helping those facing homelessness is to seek them out. Charlie Lundy, Community Missions Outreach Coordinator, and a team set out every week to offer food and water to those in need.
That outreach person's responsibility is to provide case management for those that are living out in the elements. They're tromping through the woods. They're going to campsites to check on people. They're having people come to them. We're taking them water. We're taking them blankets. We're taking them coats whenever the temperatures are low.
Gaining the trust of people can take months or even years for the Community Missions team, but every week they're out there, hoping to someday offer those individuals more long-term assistance. They do this in what is known as the Community Missions Campus. This small village is made up of 3 buildings: the Haven, Judah House, and the Cold Weather Shelter. Together, the campus creates wraparound services for St. Joseph's chronically homeless population.
We're wrapping around them and saying, okay, we're at your disposal. You have to put in the work too, but we're going to help you as much as we can to get you to where you need to be, to where this is not your end.
These wraparound services start at the Cold Weather Shelter, known as My Brother's House. The inclement weather shelter provides a warm bed, snacks, and a safe place to reside. But providing a safe haven for hundreds of residents doesn't come cheap. The city of St. Joseph allocated $150,000 in ARPA funds to help extend the shelter's operations, dividing the amount into $50,000 installments over 3 years. However, in 2024 alone, it cost Community Missions $62,000 to keep the shelter open for just 50 days. Once that year's funding was exhausted, guests had to leave, once again seeking refuge from Missouri's unpredictable weather. Along with them went the progress they had made and the hard work community missions had invested in supporting their stability. So you put all this work into making sure that they're taking their meds, they're sticking to a schedule, and then when the cold weather shelter closes, you kind of just have to hope they stick to that. How does that make you feel during that time period?
Very anxious, and I live on a prayer during that time because when they come back to me, when this reopens, I'm telling myself I'm probably gonna have to start back at square one.
Without shelter, those living on the street may resort to breaking the law to get arrested, because at least in jail, they'd have a warm meal and a warm bed. According to the Homeless Voice, it costs taxpayers an average of over $31,000 a year to criminalize a single person suffering from homelessness. But in March of 2025, community missions finally achieved their goal of having a 24-hour facility, thanks to the $200,000 received from Buchanan County and Mosaic Life Care. This new program will not only shelter St. Joseph residents from severe weather conditions, but also save the city thousands of dollars in arrests.
We're not having people that are just like, well, it's cold outside, I'm going to do something to get arrested so I can go to jail and get 3 hots and a cot. This 24-hour shelter fills a lot of gaps in our community that right now we're not going to see anything change if we don't do something different. So we have to try something different.
But having a shelter provided for one night is not a fix-all for the average homeless resident. That is why Community Missions has its very own safe haven. The haven is reserved for those facing crisis situations who have been homeless for at least 12 months in the last 3 years. Here at the haven, men can get support obtaining birth certificates, learning basic life skills, and attend Alcoholics and Narcotics Anonymous meetings.
Once they get in here from being off the street, we work with them on basic life skills, okay? That's learning how to get a routine, getting up, making your bed, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, cleaning your room, because these things tend to be forgotten when you're on the street in survival mode.
Many visitors at the haven eventually move on to independent living. However, approximately 61% of those facing chronic homelessness suffer from a form of mental health disorder, including schizophrenia, depression, bipolar disorder, and substance use disorders. Knowing this, Community Missions opened the Judah House. Here, 16 chronically homeless men diagnosed with one or more disabilities can work with case managers to address the issues that have rendered him homeless. At the Judah House, men have the support and encouragement of community mission staff, like Natalie, to attend medical appointments, show up to work regularly, and hold themselves accountable, all while not having to worry about where they'll sleep that night.
When you have these men get up on their own, walk to their doctor's appointments, and come back, that's success, because you're being accountable. You're going where you're supposed to be on time for the betterment of you. We praise those things. You know, it sounds like, well, that's silly. It's not. Positive reinforcement is huge here and out there.
That positive reinforcement and support has saved hundreds of men from living on the streets, Jeremy Thompson being one of them.
I feel like God has a plan for everybody and a purpose, and I feel like He has me here for a reason, and He wants, I feel like there's some time that, God wants me to help others.
Jeremy likes all things outdoors, including fishing and camping. He hopes to one day own a pit bull, an iguana, or even a snake, and maybe even skydive one day. Jeremy has also struggled with substance abuse problems since he was a young man, going in and out of prisons and jails since he was 21 years old. But as of March 5th of 2025, he is sober and working toward a better life.
I'm not gonna let it define who I am. I'm kind of glad I went through all that so I can help others, help them not go through that struggle, you know what I mean? Because it's not worth it. And you can lose your life like that.
Jeremy and his sober companion John were accepted into the haven on the same day and made a pact to help one another stay sober and work toward their goals.
I'm looking for work and I'm trying to become employed because I'd like to pay my child support and I might have a possible second child on the way. So I'm really just trying to do what's right. In all honesty, I'm trying to live my life according to the Bible.
Once they've done the work to live independently without the fear of homelessness looming over them, the men at community missions go on to live successful lives, reconnecting with family and spreading the positive influence, like Gary did. Gary Stiles is known as one of community missions' greatest success stories. Gary was first introduced to drugs at just 12 years old and struggled with addiction for most of his life, quitting and then starting again.
A couple of years ago, the community shower for the homeless people, you go take a shower. And I had just gotten over hip surgery. I was chased by some dogs that fell down the hill and kept on falling. But about a week after, I was walking in my walker and my backpack and little old frail looking old guy and getting ready to get a shower. And they go, "Hey, are you homeless?" And that's when it hit me. I said, "Yes, I am." It's kind of embarrassing.
Gary recovered from his hip surgery at the Haven, but left soon after, returning to his old habits. But community missions is nothing if not persistent.
They asked me to come back, and I came back and did what I was supposed to do. And I was here for 2 months, and within the 2 months, I got me a place to stay. I got cleaned up, and my family talks to me again. And I met this guy.
This guy turned out to be Samuel DeAndre, who went on to help change Gary's life forever.
I met Gary one night. I was cleaning my garage out and was carrying a very heavy load of trash out to the dumpster next to my house, and I just had gotten the barrel hoisted up to the rim of the trash can, and as I'm getting ready to dump it, Gary pops out and just startles me. You know, we just started talking, and it just kind of started from there.
I knew he was gonna throw something away. I didn't want to throw it on me, but and I heard somebody struggling like they was having a hard time.
Yeah.
I just popped up, "Hey, what's up?" And he,
Yeah.
like Oscar the Grouch, he
After becoming fast friends, Samuel offered Gary a place to stay in his garage. For months, they lived together, grew in their faith together, and went to antique shopping together.
We go to auctions or estate sales, and we like antiques.
Yeah.
Functioning antiques is what we're into.
Yeah.
One day, Gary said he was going to the gas station and didn't return for over an hour. Samuel went out looking for his friend and found him weak and in obvious need of medical attention. The two drove to the KU Medical Center, where Gary was diagnosed with congestive heart failure.
It was pretty frightening, really, because the doctor told him that his heart's just about to be done. It was a shocking moment for both of us, because we would become friends, and you don't want to see one of your friends in that kind of condition. And he was pretty bad off.
But that's not the case anymore. Gary worked with the help of Samuel and community missions to heal and better his life. What started as a crisis is now considered a miracle. Gary no longer needs a heart transplant. On March 19th, he celebrated 1 year of being sober, and he reconnected with his family.
It took a while, but now I have my daughter, my granddaughter, my sister, my brother. They're all back in my life. I tell my daughter every day how proud I am of her, and I love her very much.
Gary, Jeremy, John, and hundreds of other people have and will continue to go on and live sober, comfortable, and happy lives thanks to the support and encouragement of community missions.
There is help out there, and there is people willing to help.
It takes a village around here, and this is our village.
If you can make a difference in one person's life, you've done a good thing. And so if it's one person every day, then it's all worth it.
Community missions is more than just a roof. It's a lifeline, a second chance, and a source of hope for those trying to rebuild their lives. But none of it is possible without the compassion and support of the community.